Hello and a very warm welcome to the Question Hour show from the Parliament House complex, where we bring you important unstarred questions asked by the members of the Rajya Sabha earlier and the response given by the government. I'm Kriti Mishra and joining me is my colleague Vishal Dhaya.
Well, thank you so much, Kriti. And just like every day, today also we have lots of questions for our viewers. Those questions which were asked by the members in the upper house earlier, and these are addressed to ministries like Agriculture and ministries like External Affairs and several others as well. So let's begin the show and let's begin with the first question.
Right, Vishal. The first question that we've picked up is from member MV Rajiv Gowda, and this one pertains to the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. And Mr. Gowda has asked whether there's any specific criteria to select the agripreneurs mentioned in the budget for incentives and other support from the government.
Well, the Agriculture Ministry in its answer says that there are no specific criteria to select the agripreneurs as mentioned in the budget. It also says that the individuals trained under the Aspire scheme of Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises can become agri-entrepreneurs and can seek financial support under different schemes of the government, including Prime Minister's Employment Generation Scheme, that is PMEGP, under which loans are provided by banks and subsidy to the extent of 15 to 35% is given by the Government of India. Individuals can also seek employment in the related industry or can seek further higher skill or training. The next question is also to the Ministry of Agriculture, and this one is from member Sanjay Singh, who wants to know from the government whether the artificial intelligence could be used for agriculture.
The government says that artificial intelligence can be used in several domains of agriculture, such as weather, crop and price forecasting, yield estimation. AI can leverage in providing information and advisory services to farmers for increasing production and productivity, taking preventive measures against pests. Further, it may reduce the cost of production through precise application of agricultural inputs like fertilizers, chemicals and irrigation. The Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare under Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana through various agencies has carried out many pilot studies for optimization of crop cutting experiments in which AI was used to optimization and yield estimation. Let's move on to the next question, and this one has been asked by member Sasmit Patra, and this question pertains to the Ministry of External Affairs. And Mr. Patra has asked the government the status of relationship between India and the SAARC countries recently.
Well, the Ministry of External Affairs in its answer says that India enjoys excellent and cordial bilateral relations with our neighbours like Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka. As per our neighbourhood first policy, government is committed to developing friendly and mutually beneficial relations with all its neighbours. India is an active development partner and is engaged in several projects in these countries. Our engagement with these countries will continue to be based on a consultative, non-reciprocal and outcome-oriented approach, while focusing on delivering benefits like greater connectivity, improved infrastructure, stronger development cooperation in various sectors, security and broader people-to-people contact. With regards to Pakistan, the ministry says that the government has conveyed that it desires normal neighbourly relations with Pakistan in an atmosphere free from terror, hostility and violence, and the onus is on Pakistan for creating such an environment. Well, my colleague Kriti Mishra spoke to the member Sasmit Patra just a short while ago about his response to the government's answer to his question. Let's listen in.
And joining us on the Question Hour show is Rajya Sabha member Mr. Sasmit Patra. Mr. Patra, welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You've asked a very pertinent question. How satisfied are you with government's response?
You see, the question was specifically about our engagement with SAARC countries and what the government is going to be doing over the next 5 years in this regard. Specifically, I'd like to mention that I had asked the Minister of External Affairs primarily about the state of relations between India and the SAARC countries at present and the measures proposed to be taken for improving relations between India and the SAARC countries for the next 5 years. As we know, SAARC countries have been one of the pivotal roles for us because they are in the neighborhood of our nation. Having said that, I wanted to know from the government what are the specific plans and procedures that they have to engage with these SAARC countries. The response that I have got is satisfactory to an extent. I would have expected that the government would be more forthcoming in terms of what are the specific plans, procedures, programs, blueprint that the government has for the next 5 years. What I have got is a more of a generic statement, which is well taken and well noted, primarily because they have been speaking about the specific projects that the government is taking up with the SAARC countries and how it proposes to engage with it in a generic way. And one thing is, I do appreciate the concerns that the government has raised, and especially the points that they have mentioned. They are very relevant and shows a very positive face of the government going forward. But I would really appreciate if in the coming days the government puts out a blueprint in terms of its engagement with the SAARC countries.
What are the other steps that the government can take to further strengthen the relationship with SAARC countries?
You see, with the SAARC countries, one of the aspects is there's been a new initiative by the government of India, which is about BIMSTEC. In BIMSTEC, if you see, it's about Bangladesh, Myanmar, you've got Thailand, Sri Lanka. So BIMSTEC are those countries which figure prominently in terms of engagement with India, not only in South Asia, but also in Southeast Asia, especially Myanmar and Thailand. And in the BIMSTEC countries, Pakistan does not figure because we have a different policy with Pakistan now, considering the kind of approach that Pakistan has with us. So I do hope that the government has been showing a lot of proactive steps in terms of its engagement with SAARC countries, but it is using the BIMSTEC platform now more frequently in order to engage with the SAARC countries, excluding Pakistan, and of course the two new countries from the Southeast Asia. So therefore I'm hopeful that the BIMSTEC will be a new initiative and a platform which will be taken forward by the government. There are 2 or 3 critical areas for us. The first is trade and commerce. As we understand, India has been on the forefront of growth, but apart from looking at the Western European markets or American markets, we should also concentrate a lot in terms of Southeast Asia and South Asia. And especially in terms of foreign policy as well. Trade and commerce is the perfect platform for us in order to engage with the SAARC countries, especially Sri Lanka. Especially, that is an island country for which we have got a long relationship. But somewhere the trade and commerce has not really matured to that specific level. Secondly, in terms of Bangladesh, usually, because it is a neighboring country, it's a smaller country, we have a big brother attitude at times. But I believe that there is a lot of potential in terms of the foreign policy issue, especially with Bangladesh, and we should also support it because there are other elements which are within the foreign policy trying to get into Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and these are 2 strategically located countries for us. So therefore trade and commerce would be one. Second would be bilateral relations in terms of student exchange programs. There's a lot to learn from each other of these SAARC countries, and I hope that the government will take it seriously in terms of education. Third area, and very important, is medical tourism. As you know, India has one of the finest medical facilities now in the world in terms of affordable Medicare. And therefore, a lot of countries are coming to India primarily for medical tourism. And I feel this is where, with the SAARC countries, India can actually engage and do extremely well.
Absolutely. Mr. Patra, you've made very important points there. Thank you so much for talking to Rajya Sabha Television. Thank you.
Well, the next question is by member Vikas Mahatme, and this is to the Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers, where the member wants to know about the number of hectares of land which has become saline in nature or barren due to excessive use of fertilizers and the steps taken toward preventing excessive use of fertilizers.
Well, the government says that no study has been conducted to assess the area that has become saline or barren due to excessive use of fertilizers. However, several steps have been taken by the government, like government is advocating soil test-based integrated nutrient management, envisaging conjunctive use of both inorganic and organic sources of nutrients through soil health card scheme. Financial assistance to states in providing for setting up mechanized fruit vegetable market, waste and agro waste, compost production units, and setting up strengthening of biofertilizer, biopesticides production units to promote availability of organic sources of plants, nutrients and biofertilizers. Government is advocating split application and placement of fertilizers, use of slow-releasing N fertilizers, nitrification inhibitors, including neem-coated urea, growing legumes, crops, use of resource conservation technologies. Government also educates farmers on all these aspects. The reply further says that 2 dedicated schemes, namely Mission Organic Value Chain Development for Northeastern Region, known as MOVCDNER, and Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, have been launched since 2015 to encourage organic farming, which avoid the use of chemicals, fertilizers and pesticides. Under these schemes, farmers are provided assistance from on-farm production to off-farm procurement of biofertilizers and biopesticides? The next question is from member Parimal Nathwani, and this question is to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And Mr. Nathwani has asked whether it is a fact that government has given approval that gives preference to Make in India in government procurement under National Procurement Policy.
Well, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry in its answer says that the public procurement preference to Make in India Order 2017, as amended from time to time, is an enabling provision to promote domestic value addition in public procurement. Now, the policy aims at encouraging domestic manufacturers' participation in public procurement over entities merely importing to trade or assemble items. This order is applicable on procurement of goods, services and works, including turnkey works by a central ministry department, their attached subordinate offices, autonomous bodies controlled by the Government of India and government companies. Ministry says that as per the order, only local suppliers are eligible to bid for procurement up to 50 lakh rupees, except in certain cases. However, for the items where there is sufficient local capacity and local competition, only local suppliers are eligible to bid irrespective of the purchase value. For procurement, where lowest bid L1 is not by a local suppliers get purchase preference. Also, an effective grievance redressal mechanism has been implemented to ensure that restrictive and discriminatory clauses against local suppliers are not included in the bid documents. Well, the next question is also to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and this is from member Narayan Das Gupta, who wants to know from the government whether it is aware of the escalating trade war between United States of America and People's Republic of China.
In its response, the government says that some reports, articles and business climate surveys have indicated that some companies are shifting or planning to shift their production capacity from China due to various reasons, including import duty increase on tariff lines of trade officially announced by the United Nations and China against each other. The government is actively working on a strategy to facilitate investment in India. India's attractiveness as a destination for manufacturing has improved over the past few years with ease of doing business, policy focus such as Make in India initiative and other industry-specific policies. It has identified the different categories of companies with regard to their position and their future strategies, especially compatibility of their manufacturing requirements with those that can be offered by India. These companies are broadly into sectors of electronics, electric vehicles, battery manufacturers, paper, leather, footwear, construction machinery and machine tools, steel, consumer goods, auto and auto component manufacturers. So Vishal, these were the important questions and answers in today's edition of Question Hour.
And we'll bring you some more tomorrow as well. But after the break, our colleagues Arvind Singh and Preeti Singh will bring you some more questions in Prashn Kal. Stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.